Hey guys, it's Paradise, and I actually managed to play some Assassin's Creed Shadows thanks to Ubisoft for allowing us to play a preview. The game is still a work in progress, but I finally got to try it, and the gameplay is what was intriguing me most. How would it feel to have the two different playstyles split between the two different characters, Naoe being the more old school stealthy style of Assassin's Creed character, and Yasuke embodying the more combat and warrior ready playstyle of the more recent Assassin's Creed games like Valhalla. Well, we got to play a couple hours through a storyline, allowing us to try out both characters. Now, you never really get a full feel to become an expert in these previews, but I did think you guys would probably want to see the variety of gameplay you can do with these two characters. So here we have our preview gameplay of both Naoe and Yasuke, and I'll guide you through the thought process and what I was doing as we go. Of course, if you enjoy our coverage so you can get a little look into the game before making a decision, then drop a like below and subscribe for more gaming content coming soon. To set the scene of the story, there was a Rengokai being held, a sort of meeting between lords. However, the Rengokai was interrupted by a Ronin ambush where one of the lord's sons was kidnapped, and he is not happy about it. There was a distinct scent of incense on these Ronin that attacked, so we are going to go out and investigate where this incense came from to get to the root of who kidnapped the Lord's son. So after some dialogue and going across the map, we eventually get to Hontokuji Temple, where we need to find 3 clues, and there's a lot of enemies in this area. So I'm looking for a way in, and one of the coolest things that you can do as Naoe is actually use your grapple hook to get onto ledges above you, which really opens up a lot of traversal options. So you can use the rooftops quite easily when you're playing her, and up here you can use your eagle vision to sort of scout the area and mark enemies so you know where they are as they move and patrol around. Now we're going to be moving over to get to our first clue in this space. And it's here that we can do some assassinations while we have the sort of freedom to do it. But as you can see, there are so many enemies around, you get spotted super easily. So you need to really be careful as you do this stealthy playstyle. And I actually do prefer the more combat-focused approach to Assassin's Creed games in the more recent titles with things like Valhalla and Odyssey and even Origins. But here I'm really trying to go for the stealth play. Since that is, the roots of the series, and at least what I think a lot of people would be interested in seeing. So we're going to try and stay in stealth this whole time. Now I do see that gold treasure as well. So the different colors when you're in Eagle Vision is like the difference between treasure or mission items or collectibles, like that lost page I just picked up there. So you can see there's a gold item down there, which is treasure, which will give you a bunch of materials for crafting and building later on. So I'm going to make my way down and grab that in just a sec. You can see there we got a bunch of materials, and there is like a building system in this game, which I didn't get to explore too much. It does look very interesting. But now we're going to make our way to that blue pulsing symbol over there, which is one of the clues that we need to pick up for the actual mission. As you can see, there's a bunch of enemies all around, so this is quite a hard one to get into. There's literally guards on each side of the entrances to this building. But luckily we can sneak our way in and kill the guy while his back is turned to us.
These were all shipped from Bizen, signed by Lord Yukinaga. Interesting. Why does Himeji Castle need temple supplies?
Now we have a tricky situation of trying to get back to a safe spot with so many enemies still alive all around us. The cool thing about the stealth gameplay as well is that sticking to these shadows is a part of that, and while you're in shadows you'll actually see that your visibility decreases to the AI, and you can even take out different light sources by knocking over candles or extinguishing them, and it will basically allow you to stay more stealthy while you're in the sort of shadows. So we need to get back over to where we came from. You can see there's a blue pulse over there in the left. So I'm looking for a way to get back, but they've actually designed the areas fairly well for stealth gameplay, which I quite like. You'll see there is a path if you look long enough to find it. It doesn't involve just mowing down all of the enemies, which you could do if you played as the other character. See, finding those lost pages gave us a knowledge point as well, so they are kind of worth hunting down in these areas. And generally, there are long pathways that it's kind of like the devs are hinting you to go that way, so they were pretty natural to find in my playthrough of this couple hours of preview. This next one's a bit difficult because there's a lot of enemies around, so I scout around a little bit, thinking the coast is clear, getting spotted at every corner that I try to sit on. There's just too many enemies in this area. But we do need to get that clue that's in this building below us. The takedowns in this are super cool. There's such a good variety from what I've seen so far. But we did get spotted by another enemy here, who I thought I was quick enough to take out, but it made a little too much noise and some of the other nearby NPCs came over. And this one here has armor, which is that yellow bar, which you are not going to do a lot. It's going to take ages to kill them. You need to be pretty perfect with your parries and timings and evades to take out those armored enemies. You see the regular enemies are not so difficult, especially with your abilities, but the armored ones will give you a lot more trouble and they will kill you very fast. You can see when you get hit by these guys, you lose a lot of health. You can only tank maybe 3 to 4 hits, depending on what the enemy attacks you with. Some hits can even like 2-hit you or completely kill you if they are like an elite enemy. So basically, as you can see, we need to run away, re-get into stealth, because taking on the whole outpost as Naoe is not preferable, especially when you're out of heals and you've taken a few hits, you will just die super quick. So stealth on Naoe is a important feature, is kind of necessary. You do have additional tools like smoke bombs and even like shurikens that you can throw, and I will use one of those in a second. But I didn't get to experiment too much with all of the tools, so I think these smoke bombs would have been really useful, but there just wasn't enough time to do and test everything. You can see here one of the throwing knives or the kunai. Instant kill with a headshot is really, really good when you do start using those tools and unlocking them and restocking them, because you do have a limited number of them as you go.
No wonder it stood out at the Rengakai. Lord Yukinaga's hunch was correct. His business associates are gun runners.
So now we've discovered there's some gun runners involved. The plot thickens as we're discovering what's going on with this ambush and the kidnapping of the son. But I'm going to need to get to that final clue, which is right in the middle of the area. So I'm going to skirt around the outer perimeters of the temple. And we're going to use a pretty explosive way to deal with a couple of those guards over there that are standing right around some big red pots that almost have a target on them. Which, as you can probably guess by now, will explode when you throw something at them. The grapple hook is just so good for getting up to those walls, ledges, and buildings, and I think as you go through more of the game, there's probably going to be some better areas to make use of it, because from what I played, there was only a few areas where you really got to make it shine, but it really does open up a lot more verticality into the actual levels and way that you tackle the missions. Super satisfying way to deal with enemies by just blowing them up. But there is an elite enemy guarding this building, which is going to be super difficult to deal with, and it did give me a bit of trouble, so we will jump slightly ahead to a sort of second attempt at this elite. And you can see he's already a bit damaged, so this next assassinate will be enough to take him out. But fighting these guys is brutal. You do not want to get into direct combat with Naoe unless you are really, really good at her moveset.
A shrine that sits outside of Himeji. Marked on the map, but no mention of any shipments going there. I get a strange feeling from this place. I need to talk to Lord Yukinaga.
So now we're going to move on to the next section of the mission, and just in the distance you can see how amazing some of these areas look with the sakura trees and the old-style Japanese boats. But here we're going to need to take out this sort of guarded area with a hidden gambling den below so we can interrogate the guy that's down there. Now, you could tackle this however you want. I don't even think you need to be Naoe at this point, because you can essentially freely switch between her and Yasuke whenever you want, but Yasuke's all about melee combat. Naoe's all about stealth, so it depends how you want to tackle the mission. Now notice that is an elite guarding a bunch of treasure there. And there's a few ways to tackle him here, but you'll see what happens when I try. Now pretty much all of the regular enemies around here are defeated. We can get an assassinate on the elite, but it's not going to be enough to take him out. See, even some of the enemies have tools available to them, like a smoke bomb there, throwing kunai, throwing knives, and that kind of stuff. I really wanted to bait him over and blow him up with this pot here, kind of like we did before. This elite's a little too clever, and he will not come to me. He will just spam throwing attacks. So here I do an ability and call an ally in to help me. And the allies are very helpful, especially on Naoe, where you're not super good in direct combat, so it can act both as a distraction, as a tank, and a damage dealer, all in one. Some of those executes and stealth takedowns are super cool, and there seems to be a massive variety of them from what I experienced. Didn't see too many repeats, especially on Naoe, so I was really impressed by most of the stealth gameplay and the takedown animations.
Tokube, you're quite naked.
It's you, from the Rengakai. Who sent you here? What do you want with me?
Calm down. I just want
So for this next part, we need to get some answers out of this, like, naked guy, and I'm just going to let you enjoy this next bit.
Just this way. Don't worry, I'm no threat to you, which is why you should leave me alone.
Hey! Damn it.
Give up! You'll never catch me! Oh, come on, dear Ian. I still have my life, no matter how little it's worth now. No more. I can't run anymore. What do you want from me?
I told you. Just questions. What happened at the Rengakai?
After you showed up, everything went to shit. All that killing. I had to run. But I'm innocent. Do you hear me? Innocent.
Now we'll switch over to Yasuke, and this is where we get some meaty combat action. And we followed some clues, and now we found a suspicious Maiko who's actually a shinobi. And this is almost like a boss fight, and it was actually a pretty cool one. I really wanted to test out the rifle, the sort of musket, the ranged weapon, and it seemed incredibly strong, especially on those headshots. It does have a longer reload time, but look how much health damage that did. And bear in mind, this is like a boss or a mini-boss as part of the story, so I was really surprised by how like devastating these weapons can be. A lot more so than the melee weapons, but you can obviously deflect and do a lot of abilities with your melee weapons as well, and the abilities are super strong. But this was just a fun boss fight where it really does show off how strong the actual firearms are in Assassin's Creed Shadows. This boss just got annihilated by getting shot in the head a few times. Now we're skipping ahead to the end of this beginning little quest line. We're at Himeji Castle, and we're on Yasuke as we make our way to the top floor to fight the person that was behind the kidnapping, which will be a bit of a surprise for us later on. You can see here, you hit a parry, it sort of weakens an enemy, allowing for follow-up hits that are just devastating, and Yasuke can take out these regular enemies with complete ease, just a couple of attacks. We have more max health, we have more damage, we can run through doors and walls at certain areas. It is pretty crazy. But this castle is full of enemies as we go up and just take them out with a combination of our weapons and abilities.
Lord Naoe and his men were here. I am too late.
I saw movement.
So something you can actually see during this little fight is your attacks do cleave and strike multiple enemies if they group together, which is another strength of Yasuke just in that raw combat. And the physique that he has is a big dude.
Lord Naoe is somewhere inside the Tenshu.
That was strange. He is coming!
You can see how some of these enemies he just one-shots them, especially if they've been tagged by an ability. And look at this finisher, and there's different finishers on him as well. Some of them are super brutal, like lifting them up in the air on your actual katana. Now this enemy here is a Ronin. You can see it has more health than the other ones. These ones are particularly difficult, quite a lot harder than the regular enemies. And I make short work of them by using abilities, which is where you kind of need to micromanage your resources to take on those stronger, more almost like elite enemies instead of the regular sort of cannon fodder enemies like these guys. Here's a good example of a door that you can run through because you are so big. You just run at a door and you can literally just crumble the whole thing down like it's made of paper.
Let's get him!
A big part of the actual combat here is to get the parries off. If you do hit the parries, you sort of prime the enemy to be executed really quickly. So making use of parries and evades and of course your abilities is a big part of the actual combat on Yasuke. And I'm guessing it gets even stronger as you go through the game because we only have 2 abilities on our slots, and one of them is like a kick, which is a little sort of brief stun, whereas the other one is that dash move, which leaves them open for follow-up attacks and is very strong. We'll see here once again a shinobi with armor, but the ranged weapon just absolutely annihilates him. Here's a Yasuke stealth takedown. Not so stealthy, not so quiet, but very effective.
Of course. Escape was never an option.
Then why did you run?
I wanted some privacy. To finally read Hideya's words.
He's cornered. One of us should be enough. They killed your daimyo.
They killed your father.
Now here you can see the choice between picking who you want to do this boss fight with, and the obvious choice for me was Yasuke as the combat guy, but it would be interesting to see how it goes down as Naoe. She is not as good in a one-to-one as Yasuke.
I'll see you soon.
Spring fears not the fall. Could you give me one more moment? Very well. Lord Kambe's terms are clear, but he did not say anything about you. In another life, Lord Nobunaga and I would have continued to be great allies. He was a man of unparalleled vision.
A meaningless sentiment.
I know.
Now this boss fight is a great example of hitting those timed parries back to back to back, as well as the pure strength of your abilities. Because the abilities here are really what allow me to just dominate and go ham on him back to back. So Yasuke is nuts when it comes to actual combat. And if that is your playstyle and you don't want to go stealthy, Yasuke is the guy. But if you want to go for that old school stealth Assassin's Creed vibe, Naoe is unbeaten in stealth gameplay.
Tell me where the box is.
So there we have it. Hopefully this preview was helpful to see how different the gameplay is between Naoe and Yasuke, the two completely different playstyles. I do kind of miss the more new Assassin's Creed style where you could do everything on your one character, but I know a lot of people prefer the old school stealth style, and there's obviously people that do prefer the new style, so they've kind of split them between these two characters. You can play who you want to and have the experience that you prefer. I would love to have played more and got a deeper look at things, particularly bigger parts of the map and stuff like that, but this was only a small preview of the game, so I hope this was helpful to get a glimpse into things and hopefully help you guys out to learn a bit more about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Here at Arekkz Gaming, we're two friends who love to play games. You have me, Paradise, as well as 26.
Our goal is to keep the videos as concise as possible by cutting out any of the fluff and focusing on what really matters with high quality videos.
So make sure you're subscribed down below for more videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.